pull a cow. Everywhere I go, my 2A come. When I'm at church, my 2A come. When I protest, my 2A come. You don't want to test cause the 2A dumb. Everywhere I go, my 2A come. When I'm at church, my 2A come. When I protest, my 2A come. You don't want to test cause the 2A dumb.
Respect my 1A. Try to attack me, then that be a dumb play. Try to take 2A that only ends one way. I mean, we got it now one day. I'm a gun-tone patriot. I exercise my 2A. They ain't taking mine. I don't knock what the news say. Tell them Tifa that it better tighten up their shoelace. I'm hot, better get some water. When Bobby Boucher day. Karma always come out like a boomerang. Y'all making sense and saying nothing like it's booty tang. Touch my hat, click, clap, let it truly bang. Act tough on the internet, it's no computer game. Think I winning now, but the Patriots should truly reign. You can stupid process every time you play a stupid game. And media controls you. I am not a person to be tamed. I'm looting in the streets, but is there really something to be gained?
2A is a blessing. Don't test cause I do spray when it's threatened. Come take my possession. You don't wanna play, bang bang, do the flexing. You cross the line, y'all are foul. Kill the innocent and smile. Y'all about to make me pull a cow.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Johnny Ray Show. I appreciate you for tuning in. Tonight, we have the results of the Trump impeachment. He is now 2-0. The Democrat Congress is 0-2. He is twice acquitted. Twice he was falsely impeached. And twice the Senate agreed that he was innocent. Also, we have the hard-hitting questions from the mainstream media for Jen Psaki, as well as, as you all know, it is, in fact, Black History Month. So we will be discussing some Black history and some fantastic things going on for that, as well as, the left showed their stupidity once again with the untimely passing of one of the most well-known, well-recognized conservative voices in America for the last at least 20 or 30 years in Rush Limbaugh. All that and more on this episode of the John. Thank you and welcome back to the Johnny Ray Show. I know I have been gone for a while. I had to take some time off due to a lot of things going on in my life. But I am back, and I will be back on a regular schedule. Hopefully, now that all the craziness is done, the winter weather is over, and the life changes are gone. So, let's get right into it. The Trump impeachment came to a close this last week, and there was a lot of fallacies in that particular impeachment. Not unlike the first impeachment, there were a lot of fallacies in that, but it was a lot of things that were unable to be checked and regulated as much by the normal society people, the normal citizenry. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the video that the Democrats presented. They presented a video to show that Donald Trump, in fact, incited the January 6th Capitol Hill riot, which we've discussed at length since then a few times. So most of the things they had to say or show were pretty false, but we're going to go ahead and show some clips of that video right now.
Think about it. What will the January exception mean to future generations if you grant it? I'll show you.
We will stop the steal. Today, I will lay out just some of the evidence proving that we won this election, and we won it by a landslide. This was not a close election. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
Yeah!
Let's take the Capitol. Take the Capitol. Let's take the Capitol. We are going to the Capitol, where our problems are. It's there.
And you know, I go ahead and stop it right there because that is the worst cut job. That is the worst editing job that they could possibly do for editing to serve a narrative. So if you noticed, they cut out a vast majority of what he said in between the first part, the cut, and then the second part. They also cut right as he said we're going to walk down to the Capitol. They cut it, and they purposely went to a different shot where you couldn't hear what was said in the second clip there. Now, because the internet is forever, and anybody with two brain cells to rub together will tell you that that's not what he said. It's not like he said, we're going to walk down to the Capitol and then just stop talking. He didn't. He continued. This is where the left is fairly uneducated in common logic, because anybody can see that he said something else. But the liberal mindset is, well, whatever CNN and MSNBC and NBC and CBS tell me, that's what he said. I don't need to go see the whole clip. But we here at the Johnny Ray Show like to show the entirety of context, so that's what we're going to do right now. Check out the entirety of the clip that they just cut.
Free and fair press. Our media is not free. It's not fair. It suppresses thought. It suppresses speech, and it's become the enemy of the people. It's become the enemy of the people. It's the biggest problem we have in this country. No third world countries would even attempt to do what we caught them doing, and you'll hear about that in just a few minutes. Republicans are constantly fighting like a boxer with his hands tied behind his back. It's like a boxer. And we want to be so nice. We want to be so respectful of everybody, including bad people. And we're going to have to fight much harder. And Mike Pence is going to have to come through for us. And if he doesn't, that will be a sad day for our country. Because you're sworn to uphold our Constitution. Now it is up to Congress to confront this egregious assault on our democracy. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here we're going to walk down to the Capitol. And we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. And we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them. Because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong. We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated. Lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Today we will see whether Republicans stand strong for integrity of our elections.
And there you have it. OMG. He did continue after he said that they were going to walk down to the Capitol. He in fact specifically stated that they were going to walk down to the Capitol and peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard. peacefully. Now, let's contrast that with the vast clips that I've already played 100 times of Democrats who condoned, who encouraged, who incited for violence all across the country, from Maxine Waters stating that that liberals and Democrats should get in the faces of the conservative cabinet members, cause a scene in the restaurants, in the bars, in the wherevers. The people like AOC, who said that riots are the voice of the voiceless. People like Nancy Pelosi, who specifically said, I don't understand why there's not more riots, why there's not more unrest, and maybe there will be, she said. Maybe there will be. Sounds a bit insightful, don't you think? So, let's just say it. They are lying assholes. That's what they are. They are lying assholes who specifically cut videos to sound like Donald Trump was a bad guy. Now, on to the more egregious, because that's bad, don't get me wrong. That is bad. That shows that they are malicious. But this shows intent to lie. They introduced manufactured, altered, fictitious evidence to try and show some incitement. And they, of course, later on backtracked, said that it was a oversight when they added it, that it was... No. This is what they did. They introduced some tweets from, I believe her name was Jennifer Lawrence, if I remember right. I don't know who she is personally. I have no idea. They introduced tweets, and in the tweet you'll see that there's a little blue check mark next to her tweet. And she came out afterwards and specifically said, like you can see right there, I've never been verified on Twitter. So why did my tweet used in the fact-free impeachment include a verification badge? I'm assuming Democrats faked it like they are faking the whole case. Representative Swalwell, why did you add a verified badge to my tweet in your presentation? Now, I know why they did that. Because their entire case is based on anonymous, unknown, unverified, nobody sources. And when they were looking through it, the Democrats were looking and they were going, okay, so we got this guy here, he wrote an article, this was an op-ed article, but hey, we'll take it. It's saying that Donald Trump incited violence. We'll take this over here. It's not verified. It's verified. There was one source that stated that Donald Trump called Mike Pence a pussy. Now, the evidence was cited by a Washington Post article. And in the article, it cited the source as two staffers who were briefed on the conversation. Not even two people that were in the room. Not even two people involved in the conversation. Not even two people in the same building as the conversation. It was two people who were briefed, who somebody told about it. And so what they did is they seen all this anonymous source, the unverified sources, and they needed to look credible. So they took the tweet from Jennifer Lawrence, they superimposed a Twitter blue check mark so that when they showed it, people would look and see and go, oh my God, that's a verified person. That's a blue check mark on Twitter. It's gotta be true. But it's not. But it's not. Because the Democrats are nothing but lies. Their entire party is built on lies. They are built on ambiguity and hatred for any opposing opinion, that they can't even be bothered to find legitimate facts to prove their cases. Now, once they did that, they now are trying to push the narrative to the deaths at the Capitol. It started off as 1, then it went to 2, then it went to 5, now it's up to 7. So we're going to go through these deaths, okay? Only one death is actually a result of the riot itself, factually. And that is Ashley Babbitt, who was shot by the Capitol police officer. Everybody's seen the video. Everybody knows what's going on with that. So we don't need to get into all that. That's the only verifiable one. The rest are circumstantial or not even involved. First, we're going to go with Ben Phillips. Now, Ben Phillips, as you can see here, these are all from the New York Times, okay? One of the most publicized media outlets. They're supposed to be unbiased. They're supposed to be factual. They're supposed to be all down the middle. It specifically says here that he died of a stroke. Okay? He died of a stroke. Now, yes, a lot of people are saying strokes can be caused by stress and strenuous situations. You're absolutely correct. But regardless of whether or not the riot took place as a result of Donald Trump, makes that completely irrelevant. So that's the first one. And then we got Kevin Greeson, who it says here, he suffered a heart attack outside of the Capitol. He was outside of the west side of the Capitol. Okay? He wasn't even inside the Capitol building when he had a heart attack. So we have to take that one off the table. Okay? And these, don't get me wrong. Anytime people die, bad situation. And I'm not justifying the January 6th riot. What I am doing is I'm nullifying the BS that they are attributing to the January 6th riot. You don't get to make up your own facts to substantiate your narrative. It doesn't work that way. That's not how facts work. That's not how reality works. So, then we got Roseanne Boylan, who it says here was crushed by fellow rioters during their attempt to fight through the police line. There is some videos that are floating around that show people pushing through the police. I have yet to see a verifiable video showing that she was trampled while there. But if she was there breaking the law. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say that if somebody's breaking the law, they deserve to be punished, and then turn around and say that the deaths are, you're standing on the graves of the people who did die. Then we go to the main one, Officer Sicknick. He was a Capitol Police officer who at first was said that he was bludgeoned in the head with a fire extinguisher. Okay? A fire extinguisher. Now, That's where it gets a bit dicey. There is zero video or photographic proof of him being assaulted with a fire extinguisher. There is, in fact, video evidence and photographic evidence that he was engaging with the protesters and the rioters. There is no video evidence, and there are thousands of videos that have been posted of people at the riot. None have shown this particular man being hit in the head with a fire extinguisher. Now, they initially reported that he was hit in the head, he was taken back to the Capitol Police offices, and he collapsed, was taken to the hospital, and died of head injuries. Now, the medical examiner's report is still, as far as I know, not in, but it was reported later on by the medical examiner that there was no head injury and there was no evidence of trauma to the head. Also, he didn't go back to the office, collapse, and take to the hospital and died. He, in fact, left, texted his brother, told him that he was pepper sprayed, but okay, and then later on went to the hospital and succumbed to passing on. Don't you think that he would have said something to his brother about being hit in the head with a fire extinguisher? Don't you think there would have been some sort of video of that to surface over a month later? I do. I believe the video of the woman getting shot certainly surfaced fairly quickly. But again, this is them standing on the graves of the people who died surrounding the events and trying to use that as the narrative to say that the riots were violent and horrible and dastardly and abhorrent, when that's not true. They say this was an insurrection. This was the first insurrection to nobody be armed. Not one gun was shown. Don't you think if they were going there to cause an insurrection, to start an insurrection, that they would have had some sort of weapons? When they have had guns, knives, swords, nightsticks, something? Nobody had anything except the Capitol Police. No weapons. No Molotov cocktails. No, nothing. And that, to me, screams not an insurrection. So, on to the next funny moments. We have Jen Psaki is probably the dumbest White House press secretary I've ever seen in my 30-year life, at least. Certainly in the last 3 presidents, going back to Barack Obama. But the way that the media carries the water for Joe Biden and the Democrats, it's so ridiculous. They give softball questions. I mean, we saw it during the campaign. They instead of asking hard-hitting questions like, are you going to ban fracking, and then holding him to responsible to answer, they asked him what his favorite ice cream was. They asked him what he was going to do for the holidays. What was he going to do for Christmas? How was he feeling that day? Meanwhile, mind you, this is just late-breaking news. Today, on I guess Thursday, he called a lid at 9 in the morning on being a president. I don't know of any president in the last certainly 30 years, but in any modern presidency, they called the lid at 9 o'clock in the morning. Just said, you know what? I don't need to be president today. I'm just gonna. But again, this just goes to prove across the board what's going on, because the other day, this entire week, but most certainly I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday, one of the two. There are hundreds of people in Texas freezing with no electric, no running water for multiple days on end. And he is at Camp David playing Mario Kart with his kids. I couldn't imagine Donald Trump during anything, let alone a state of an emergency for a state, to go play Mario Kart with his kids. I couldn't imagine what would happen in the media. But instead, we get things like this.
Quick question from this morning. The
Sure.
president received ashes for Ash Wednesday. What, if anything, is he giving up for Lent?
Oh, what a good question. I should have asked him that question today.
Oh, what a great question. I didn't even think to ask the President of the United States during a pandemic, during a state of an emergency where a state is without power for multiple days. What in the world is he giving up for Lent? That is the hard-hitting questions that we need in the media in 2021. What is sleepy Joe Biden going to do? What is he going to give up for Lent? I'll tell you what he needs to give up. He needs to give up the presidency because he is doing a horrible job. He is running this country by executive order, and he's just destroying it day in and day out when he's not playing Mario Kart. So my suggestion to Joe Biden for what he needs to give up for Lent is he needs to give up the presidency. He shouldn't be president at all. He shouldn't. Anybody who voted for Joe Biden to be president should be locked in an insane asylum. Okay? And to further prove my point, he has zero idea. He has zero moral turpitude at all. Zero morals. His moral compass is broken. And by broken, I mean pieces scattered across the desert somewhere. This is what he had to say when asked at his town hall the other night. When asked about how the Chinese are handling the Uyghurs in their party. Here, check this out.
Chinese leaders, if you know anything about Chinese history, it has always been the time when China has been victimized by the outer world is when they haven't been unified at home. So the central, vastly overstated, the central principle of Xi Jinping is that there must be a united, tightly controlled China. And he uses his rationale for the things he does based on that. I point out to him, no American president can be sustained as a president if he doesn't reflect the values of the United States. And so the idea, I'm not going to speak out against what he's doing in Hong Kong, what he's doing with the Uyghurs in western mountains of China, and Taiwan trying to end the one China policy by making it forceful. I said, and by the way, he said he gets it. Culturally, there are different norms at each country, and their leaders are expected to follow.
So the mass genocide of people in a country is normal. That's normal. That's the cultural norm for the Chinese. Just absolutely immoral. Just ridiculously immoral, to be in fact. Speaking of immoral and out of touch and ridiculous in the same sense, to celebrate this monumental month, the greatest month in all the 12 months. Black History Month, and to kick off our celebration of Black History, which we're almost through with the month, but to kick off this particular segment for Black History, the Black History Month, let's go to your president. The president who won the most votes of any person in the history of the presidency, the history of elections in America. They haven't even stopped counting. He got so many. 80. Next week it'll be 85 million. The next week we're looking at 200 million. It just keeps going up. It keeps going up. It keeps rising. He keeps getting more and more votes. He's so popular that other countries came here and voted. Other citizens from other countries came here to elect Joe Biden. This is what he had to say.
The other portion is a lot of people don't know how to register. Not everybody in the community, in the Hispanic and the African American community, particularly in rural areas that are distant and or inner city districts, know how to get online to determine how to get in line for that COVID vaccination at the Walgreens or at the particular.
So the president of unity, the most popular president, the man who beat out the numbers that Barack Obama brought in, just said that Latino or Hispanic and Black citizens, people, aren't intelligent enough to get on the internet and figure out where to go get a vaccine. He just said, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, you're taking it out of... I'm not. He literally specifically said, Hispanic and Black communities don't know how to get on the internet and find where to get the vaccine. I'm just giving you a quote. He specifically said that they are not intelligent enough to turn on a computer, and figure out where to go get vaccines. Speaking of getting on a computer, I need you to make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment. Matter of fact, comment right now. Pause it or listen in the background. Comment if you are a Hispanic or a Black or a minority in general. If you are anybody but a white male, comment and tell me whether or not you know how to use the internet. If you're intelligent enough to get on the internet, you're obviously intelligent enough to find this podcast. Comment, tell me that whether or not you are intelligent enough to get on the internet and find out where to get a vaccine at. Also, while you're there, make sure and check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcast and SoundCloud and anywhere that audio podcasts are available. I'm also on Rumble, which is the majority of where I'm going to be posting from now on because YouTube hates anything conservative. They'll probably ban this video like they banned every other video that I've done. So make sure all the links are down in the description. Make sure you follow me on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook. Right now I'm banned on Facebook for another 14 days, but you can always add me. You can always follow once I can get unbanned from there, and maybe I can stay unbanned for a change. I don't know. I'm also on Parler now that Parler is kind of back up and running, and you can find me there. Again, all the links will be in the description. I do want to give a shout out, and I know it's a little late, but I do want to give a shout out to a gentleman that I have come to consider to be a friend and associate here in the conservative podcast world. Dom B podcast. He is an amazing person. We have a lot of things in common. We are both, on the right side of the aisle here. So make sure to go and like, share, comment, subscribe to him as well. I will put his links in the description as well. So shout out to Dom B. Hopefully you're doing well. I haven't talked to him in just a little bit because, like I said, the personal issues in my life going on. I've been super stretched thin. But shout out to Dom B and his lovely wife that he has on the show with him. Shout out to both of you. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about, this is not nearly as long of an episode as they normally are, and I do apologize for that, but I'm trying to just burn through the massive amounts of stuff that we've got that I've missed over the last couple weeks. The left have once again shown how completely immoral and ridiculous they are. They have shown that they are ridiculously stupid, uneducated, ignorant. Now, on the 17th, which was that would be Wednesday, the 17th, it was announced that the one of the most well-known conservative voices on the right had passed away to cancer. He lost his battle to cancer. Rush Limbaugh. I was never a huge fan of Rush Limbaugh. I didn't listen to a lot of them. I did here and there. I listened to him. I wasn't a huge fan because he was more. He was a lot further right than I am, or that the people that I tend to gravitate to. He was kind of like the less conspiratorial Alex Jones to me. I do respect Alex Jones. I respected Rush Limbaugh with 110%. I wasn't a huge Rush Limbaugh fan. I didn't go around, jumping on the bandwagon for Rush. What I did do, though, is I did notice that immediately after seeing the news of him passing away, I seen that Twitter had trended #RestInPiss, which is par for the course for the liberal mindset. But what did get me was The View, and I don't watch The View for this particular reason, because to me The View is nothing more than a daytime version of the Mean Girls, where women sit around a table and bash anybody who they dislike because they have a differing opinion or viewpoint or ideology. They're not based on facts. I don't think I've ever heard a fact stated on The View in the few times that I have watched any of their stuff. But Sunny Hostin, one of the hosts, had this to say about Rush when she said that he normalized hatred and he weaponized white victimhood.
I know these people. They're not real.
Right. So, Sonny, what do you think his legacy will be?
Well, I've been listening to everyone, sort of eulogizing Rush Limbaugh. And I remember listening to him as a kid growing up. And for me, he just normalized hatred. He normalized racism. And, I think he really weaponized white male grievance. And he sort of harden these like rural white listeners, people, you know, sitting in their trucks and in the middle of America and in the South and, you know, listening to Rush Limbaugh. And I mean, this is someone who called, you know, our President Barack the Magic Negro. This is someone who talked about an NFL football game as, you know, a gang match between the Bloods and the Crips. This is someone who made fun of Michael J. Fox's Parkinson's disease. This is someone who likened a 13-year-old Chelsea Clinton to a dog. You know, this wasn't someone who was a nice person. This is someone that spewed.
So, just a couple of things. First of all, I never heard Rush Limbaugh make light or any kind of joke about Michael J. Fox's Parkinson's disease. If he did, that is horrible. That's a horrible thing because Michael J. Fox is one of the greatest actors in history. But to a few points that I can prove to be completely false on her part, or at the very least far an extent over-exaggerated. The first thing that comes to mind is she said that he normalizes hatred. Now, normalizing hatred is bad, don't get me wrong. If you normalize hatred, you are a bad person. But the left has less than zero validity to bring this up. Let's just for the sake, let's go to Twitter, and we're going to show a little bit of normalization of hatred, okay? Now, this started moments, and I mean mere minutes after it was released that Rush Limbaugh had passed away. And this is not the first person, and I'll show you that here in just a little bit. But we got John Townsend, this gentleman, said, "Live your life in such a way that people don't make hashtag rest in piss trend when you die." This Laura Renee said, "Let's be respectful about this hashtag rest in piss," with a picture of a headstone that says, "Rush Limbaugh, please wash hands after urinating." Jordan Harville said, "My win of the week, Rush Limbaugh died and I soaked in every single second of it. I haven't felt this optimistic in years. This is one of the many reasons I cheered when this effer died. I never wished a man death, but I have read some obituaries with pleasure. First of all, not Mark Twain, so you're an idiot." This one shared a picture, said, "Rest in piss is trending because Rush Limbaugh died. I don't know who the first person to write this was, but how dare you come up with the perfect joke before the rest of us could." The hashtag rest in piss, the only thing keeping me warm. Let's see here. Oh, that's mine there. So anyway, so that is normalizing hatred. Okay? When Twitter kicks people like Donald Trump, at the time duly elected sitting president, because he says mean things, but they allow the hashtag rest in piss to be trended moments after a man died, that is normalizing hatred. That is exactly what Sunny Hostin was just talking about when she referred to Rush Limbaugh. She said normalized hatred. That looks normalized to me. I don't think Rush did it. I mean, technically he did by dying, but I don't think that he was on Twitter normalizing the hashtag rest in piss. I don't. On to the next factually inaccurate thing that she mentioned. She mentioned how Rush Limbaugh had likened Chelsea Clinton to a dog. Now, do I think that lowering the standards to describe a child, any child for that matter, as a animal, or in the sense that he was talking about a female dog? No, I don't. But you lose all validity for your argument when just a few short years ago, which seems like 5 minutes in today's society, you were normalizing the fact that Peter Fonda tweeted, and it went viral, how Barron Trump, the teenage son of Donald Trump, the then sitting president of the United States, his son, saying that his son should be ripped from his mother's arms, thrown in a cage with pedophiles, and you're okay with that. You lose all validity. Now, I've seen a lot of people who try to say that, well, the right normalized hatred when they mocked and ridiculed and celebrated when Ruth Bader Ginsburg, RBG, passed away at the end of last year. I didn't see one conservative. I did not see one conservative to say that they were happy that RBG died. I didn't see one conservative celebrate RBG dying. In fact, I believe the sitting president at the time, Donald Trump, spoke very highly of RBG, who he disagreed with on almost all ideological scales. The mainstream won't tell you about that. People won't say that. The liberals don't remember that. But I want anybody. I know earlier I said only minorities, only Hispanic or African American or Indian or Native American, whatever you want to be called, whatever minorities. Earlier I wanted you to comment. Now I want anybody to comment. White males, you're included now. I want you to comment and tell me when a conservative showed celebration for somebody on the left passing away. Now, the first thing I know most of you liberals are going to do is you're going to say, well, he talked about John McCain. No. Take that, put it over to the side, and let's not talk about that. Because the fact is John McCain was, while he was alive, and now after his passing, was a walking, talking, breathing pile of dog crap. He was. He was a piece of trash. He was a garbage human being. He was a piece of crap. So we're going to leave that on the back burner. And then I know what the next thing. Well, when that one congressman died, he said, well, he's looking up instead of looking down. That doesn't count. That's not celebrating. That's simply talking crap about somebody who you disliked. We're not going to do that. I want you to show me where people were talking about being happy that RBG or anybody on the left passed away. Comment, send me a Facebook, send me a tweet, comment on Rumble, comment here, wherever. Show me where conservatives were celebrating the passing of somebody on the left. Show me that. Now, again, I do apologize for the extended break. I only intended on being gone for a week or two because of holidays and stuff like that. Kind of turned into a little longer. I apologize. I'm now, hopefully, Lord willing, back on a schedule again. And we will see you next week on Monday for the next episode of the Johnny Ray Show. Again, make sure and like, share, comment, subscribe. Share this far and wide. And hopefully we can make a little headway with getting the voice of the voiceless out there. I also have now set up memberships, so I do ask that you please think about joining up and contributing to the show so that I can be able to give you more content, better content, fuller content. There will be more behind the scenes. There's going to be exclusive videos, exclusive interviews, exclusive content all around. So please do think about doing that. I understand times are difficult with the pandemic and nature taking its course right now, but please do think about it. And if not, I completely understand. Share, comment, like, subscribe, do all those things, and that helps out just as much as you can. So until next time, thank you for joining me on this episode of the Johnny Ray Show. Good night, and God.